This video is about what happens when you really know who you are on the inside and you stop getting your value from external validation. Once that happens, you move differently, you think differently, you carry yourself with a lot more peace. Because the truth is, when you're anchored internally, you're not waiting on someone else to approve you or to affirm you. You're not looking at reaction to decide your direction. You're not checking every room to see if you fit in. You already know who you are when you walk in. It's not about pride, it's not about ego. It's not about pretending you don't care about what everyone thinks. It's about having a foundation inside of you that doesn't shake just because someone doesn't understand you or agree with you. When your identity isn't constantly being negotiated by other people's opinion, you get a different kind of peace. You stop rushing, you stop proving, you stop reacting. You start moving with intention instead of trying to keep up with every expectation that's thrown at you. The truth is that we're all made in God's image, and we each have gifts that were given to us by our Creator. So when you get your identity from a place outside of you, you're dependent on meeting other people's expectations. And not everyone has the same gifts as you. Not everyone knows what you know or can do what you can do. One of the main keys in life is to lean into your gifts, your talents, what you know how to do, and stop looking for validation externally. Stop looking for outside opinions on what you already know to be true internally. You know your worth, and you know who you are, and you know what gives you your identity internally, inside of yourself. And when you're solid in that, other people's opinions don't matter. And so just stand strong, stand firm in who you are, and trust your own decision making, and trust God. Trust God to put you in the right situations with the right people. You do have to have a level of discernment with what I'm talking about, but as long as your identity is something that you have internally, it doesn't really matter who comes around and what opinions are pushed on you. You know who you are. You know what you're worth. You know what you can and can't do. And so just stick to that. Stand strong in who you are. Whether that's a believer in Christ, whether that's a businessman or woman, whatever that is, whatever that looks like to you. And I could go really deep on this. You could have an identity for a season, and the next season maybe you've changed and you're somebody different. That was me. I was one person in one season of life, and I own that. That's who I was. That was my identity, was this person, this character that I created in my own mind that I played out. And now I'm in a different season, and I don't relate with that person that I once was. I don't consider myself to be the same person that I was years ago, and that's okay. So to take it deeper, it's good to not even attach your identity to what you do. I think that was one of the biggest things for me in life, was that I was searching for a purpose that I thought was going to be lifelong. I attached my identity to the things I did. For instance, I played baseball for 12 or 13 years, and that's who I was. I anchored my identity in baseball. I was a baseball player. I played baseball every day of my life. That was who I was. That was what I did. And then as I got older, my interest changed and reality set in, and I realized, not very many people become professional baseball players. Statistically speaking, that is a very low probability to become a professional baseball player. And as those realities set in, also I picked up new interests, and so I went off on another path, and I became passionate in music, and I became passionate in cannabis, and I had an identity built around music and entertainment and cannabis. Now I'm learning to take it deeper, and to not even to base my identity around what it is that I do. The broad picture is that I am a follower of Jesus. I'm a Christian, and what I do for this season of my life might not be the same thing that I do for the next season of my life. Being a Christian is part of what I do, but what I'm saying is that you can't anchor your identity in what other people think of you. And you shouldn't even anchor your identity in what it is that you do. Who you are is your morals, your values, your beliefs. That's your identity, ultimately. And what you do is just a reflection of that identity. What I'm trying to say is not to anchor your identity in what people think of you, what people want from you, or even what you do or what you think of yourself. You should really dig deeper and anchor your identity in who you really are. I heard a story about a woman. Let me pull up the Bible verse. So there's multiple verses that came up here. Psalm 66:10. For you, O God, tested us. You refined us like silver. Malachi 3:3. Malachi 3:3 says, He will sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. And then Psalm 12:6 says, The words of the Lord are pure words, like silver refined in a furnace on the ground, purified 7 times. So this woman hears this story about being purified, and she wanted to see how silver was purified. So she goes to a silver refiner and she asks the man, can I watch you refine silver? I want to see how the process is done. She didn't say anything about God. She didn't say anything about the verses. She just said, I want to watch you do what you do. And so she's just in this silver refinery. This man is standing over vat of silver. He's melting this silver and he's refining this silver and he's burning out all the impurities of this silver with fire. And he's sweating, he's hot. She's hot. She's right next to him. She's like sweating. And she asks the man, she says, how do you know when the silver is done being refined? And the man kind of chuckles and he laughs and he goes, that's easy, when I can see my reflection in it. And so that's sanctification. That's the purification of our spirit, is by fire. And how does God know when he's done? When he can see his reflection in us. That's where you have to get your identity, is you have to get your identity from something that's bigger than yourself, bigger than any human, bigger than what you do, bigger than what someone says about you. If you get your identity from any place other than God, ultimately, it's going to constantly be changing. You can't get your identity from this world. I believe we do have internal moral compasses. I believe we do know right from wrong. And I think that's a good place to start. It's good to have an identity that's based in your moral compass and to choose what's good, to choose what's right. So that's my personal take on it. The point that I'm trying to make here is that when you know who you are and you anchor your identity internally, it's really hard to shake you. It's really hard for someone else's opinion to bother you. You have a peace. You have a peace inside of yourself, no matter what other people think or say. And ultimately what it boils down to is that when you anchor your identity internally, you don't have anything to prove to anyone. There's nothing to prove when you already know who you are. There's no moment, there's no action, there's no words that can validate you when you already know who you are. And there's 2 sides to that coin. If you're not anchored internally, you might take someone else's criticism as an attack on who you are. But if you know who you are, then you take it with a grain of salt. And just on that same coin, on the other side of it, when someone gives you praise or someone compliments you, that might go to your head. You might get a big ego. You might start changing your actions based on who's watching. When you're anchored in who you are internally, those things aren't possible. And when you live from a place of internal identity, you move slower, you speak less, you stop chasing applause, you make decisions based on your own convictions rather than pressure. And your circle might get smaller, but it gets healthier. And knowing yourself changes how you respond to disrespect, how you ignore false narratives, how you avoid proving yourself, how you stop being triggered, and how peace replaces anxiety. When God anchors your identity, you're less reactive. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You don't need to justify your path. Your validation comes from a higher place. When you know who you are, you're not seeking a spotlight. You're not reading every room and reading every face for approval. You're not shrinking or exaggerating yourself. You're steady, calm, and clear. And you start to notice how much of your life was shaped by seeking approval that you didn't ever need. And you realize how often you betrayed your own peace just to satisfy a moment. So some things you can take away from this. Here's some actionable steps that you can take away from this that will actually help you ground yourself in your own internal identity. Spend time alone to hear your own voice. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Choose environments that align with your calling. And most importantly, let God be the foundation, not people's reactions or responses. Hopefully, you take something from this and you can apply it in your own life. As always, I love you, and Carpe Diem.